These regulations are under attack from the Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership, or TTIP, the dirtiest trade deal in Europe's history. The TTIP is a free trade agreement being cooked up by politicians and big business, and it's bad news for consumers, workers, and the environment. Negotiations are being held in secret, and all we know is what we've learnt from leaks. At the centre of the deal is regulatory cooperation. It might sound innocent enough, but what it means is letting corporations do as they please. Businesses will be able to co-write the rules. And if a business doesn't like the result, they can influence the outcome of the law. Whenever the Commission in the EU gets an idea for new rules, they will need to run them past the US government and business groups first. This is before you or your elected representatives even see what's being proposed. If a business group in the US, say a maker of chlorinated chickens, is unhappy about a submission, the Commission will be forced to report it has a bad effect on trade. Business groups will even be able to make their own proposals. Who would have had the front to put ideas like this on the table? Well, they look pretty similar to a set of ideas that the US Chamber of Commerce and Business Europe have been pushing in Brussels for years. They are even planning to create a brand new body to make sure business gets its way. It will be called the Regulatory Cooperation Council. Their main priority is to protect trade. Regulatory cooperation puts profit before people and undermines key democratic principles. It places foxes in charge of the henhouse. A henhouse full of chlorinated chickens.
What is the TTIP, please?
The Transatlantic Trade and Investment Partnership. And if it sounds completely incomprehensible and impenetrable, that's because it's meant to.
Right now, big banking, software, pharmaceutical and tobacco corporations are lobbying governments from 12 countries to negotiate the dirtiest deal you've never heard of. There's a reason you haven't heard of the TPP, or Trans-Pacific Partnership. There are some major corporations and government officials that don't want you to know what's in the deal.
Yet this is precisely what is not happening. Negotiations are taking place behind closed doors. This does not look like democracy.
In the US, Democrats and Republicans are uniting to oppose a fast-tracking of the TPP, demanding open debates and negotiations instead, despite a powerful corporate lobby that wants their deal signed before the public has a chance to realise what's at stake.
And it's not just that they're stripping away all these regulations which protect us. They are setting up something called investor-state dispute settlement, which is a wholly separate judicial system purely for the use of corporations.
They're going to have their own courts and judicial system.
Except that these courts are composed of just 3 corporate lawyers who work for the same corporations often.
They'll be helpful.
Meeting in secret without any third-party standing. In other words, you and I cannot go to the court and say, these proceedings will affect us in such a way, so we should have legal standing in this court. No judicial review, no appeal, no rights of appeal.
I don't know why you're worried about this. It's just 3 guys who work for corporations meeting in secret with zero accountability.
Old investor-state disputes that the TTIP will enable are particularly dangerous for the state and its citizens. If a law adversely affects the profits of a corporation, it can sue the state for damages, all at the taxpayer's expense.
If that goes through, it means that corporations will have the legal right to prevent any regulation that curbs their ability to make profit.
The truth, the German government's coming out against it, French government's coming out against it. Our government are they are lying again and again and again.
The EU Eurozone from 1992, in marked contrast to the old European community of 1975, has crept into every nook and cranny of our life, and it has become entrenched in the National Health Service. And this June, we have a lifetime opportunity to get it out and to make a real change which will have profound effect on the National Health Service. It is so intimate. It involves your families, it involves your homes, it involves your life. This is not a decision for a remote bureaucracy in Brussels. We will restore legal powers and democratic control of the NHS to voters in the UK if they vote leave, as I hope they will do on June. If that happens, we will be able to protect our NHS from EU interference, and that's priceless.